Hello, good morning, everyone. I would request all of you to please put your cameras on. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. I would just like to have a brief introduction from you.
Oh, all right. Wait. Yes, I'm Janiel Villamera. I'm 23 years old and I graduated from University of Santo Tomas back in 2019 with a degree of AB Literature.
Okay.
I'm from Manila, Philippines.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel, for such a wonderful introduction. Good morning, ma'am Sita. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. All of you. Lovely to see all of you. Hi, Abhilasha. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, ma'am. We are very glad to have you on our conference today. Thank you so much for attending the conference. Could we have a brief introduction from you?
Certainly, certainly. I'm based in Dubai. I'm a personal development trainer, a lifestyle consultant, and also I enjoy giving motivational keynote speeches as well. And it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm extremely happy with the long-term association that I've had with Eurasia for the last many years. And I'd like to convey my thank you and appreciation for having invited me to be once again a part of this event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We are also very glad to have you on our conferences. Thank you so much. Good morning, ma'am Victoria.
Good day, everyone. I am I am Dr. Magayon from the Philippines also. I think I also graduated in University of Santo Tomas in my doctorate, and I am a STEM teacher. It's always an honor for me to be part of this conference. Thank you for always inviting me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much. Good morning, Lydia. Could you please put your mic on? You're not audible.
Yes, now I hope you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Please, can we have a brief introduction from you?
Very good. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lydia Angelica Mao. I am a student pursuing a PhD in education management from Chuka University, and I will be doing a presentation later on. Thank you. I'm happy to be in this conference.
Same here, ma'am. We are also happy to have you in the conference. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, Mara. Mara Mathu. I guess there are some technical glitches. She's not able to connect. Okay, till then we can just have a talk with ma'am Megan. Ma'am Victoria Nagayam.
Yes.
Ma'am, how is everything going around in your country? Can we know that? Just to
yes, in our place, I am from the Department of Education. I'm teaching in one of the school here in Rizal, Senior High School, and we are now implementing the alternate face-to-face in preparation for the full implementation. And so now we are okay. Our students are adjusting. They are adapting the new so-called new normal again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the information. Hello, good morning, Zupang. Shupang Shan.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Shan Peng from China, and very glad to see each other. And today my interview is talk about collaboration networks. I hope we can enjoy a good interview and a conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Zupang. Ma'am Sita, Can we just know what's going on in UAE right now? Like, what is the current situation?
From what aspect do you mean? Do you mean the economic aspect or the social aspect?
Ma'am, social aspect.
Okay. I think Dubai is definitely one of the best places for someone to be in and to live in, because I think even during the pandemic, the manner how the government had taken care of the people and managed the situation has been extremely impressive. And I think because of that, our restrictions in terms of movement and in terms of communication with others had not been probably as affected as it was probably in many parts of the world. And I think that has definitely helped us all to cope with the pandemic a lot better. And also now with the pandemic effects, let's just say, receding, things are also getting back into the general and usual situation that is now prevalent all over the world, fortunately and thankfully and blessedly.
Yes, ma'am. We do agree that the UAE government has done a wonderful job by keeping the pandemic in control. And that was like a great information from you. Thank you so much. Okay, let us begin with the conference now.
Certainly.
I welcome all of you to Eurasia Research Online Live International Conference. Today we have the participants from all these other participants, and we have participations from 7 countries around the world: Philippines, India, Kenya, Romania, China, UAE, and Pakistan. We are broadcasting this conference on Facebook Live on multiple pages of Eurasia Research. The links for the live sessions are shared in the chat box. Please allow me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research to you in a nutshell. With over more than 1 million satisfied members and associates spread across the globe, Eurasia Research is a scholarly association who have been working for nearly a decade. Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutions and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research world and have not stopped their endeavors even during COVID era, and have presented research community with online platform which was safe and convenient method to continue the passion. We are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, educationists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshops, projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarships. We provide scholarship to deserving candidates to promote students and research scholars to participate in the international conference. Young Researcher Scholarship is provided in the form of a full registration fee waiver. We have vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. Our associated journals publish original papers, review papers, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus teams in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing. That is Google Scholar, Crosscheck, Authenticate, Crossref, the Keepers Registry, Scribd, Portico, Rode, Directory of Open Access Scholarly Resources, OAI, PMH Registered Data Provider, PKP Index. We will soon be applying for Scopus 2. We have a wide network of 100 plus internationally acclaimed keynotes across the globe who share their knowledge and guidance with our participants with open hands. We have also encouraged our participants to connect with more than 15,000 followers on our social media platform where they can share their research and interest, join our Facebook group, and be a part of the discussions by researchers and academicians. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision-making capabilities. We couldn't have thought of reaching here without them. We also have several collaborations with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve all interested and like-minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to announce our latest project, which is the Terra Fellow Program in Education. The program offers an opportunity to learn the key concepts and latest trends in the teaching industry from the academic stalwarts. We would like to share some of our past participants' experience with you. Thank you for your patience and valuable time. Moving ahead with the conference. Hi, I'm Abhilasha Sharma, your today's conference host. Let us start with the presentation from our SSHRA President, Professor Marek Matthew, Department of Entrepreneurship and Industrial Policy, Faculty of Management and University of Lodz, Poland. Let's see what he has to say.
Hello everyone, my name is Marek Matejun, originally associated with the University of Łódź, Poland. I am the president of Social Science and Humanities Research Association. On behalf of my colleagues, advisory board and our members, it is a pleasure and an honor to welcome you to our international community. Social Science and Humanities Research Association, SSHRA, is promoted by Eurasia Research and aims to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and create opportunities for networking and scientific collaboration in the field of social science and humanities. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, workshops, projects, scientific publication, academic awards, and scholarships. We create wonderful opportunities for sharing knowledge, research results, and discussion at our interdisciplinary conferences organized in Asia, Europe, and Africa, International Conference on Social Science and Humanities, as well as at the International Conference on Business, Economics, Language, Law, and Psychology. We closely cooperate with internationally recognized universities and research organizations as our institutional partners. For our members, we offer inspiring scientific events, team-building activities, strong social media platform for networking, young researcher scholarships, as well as opportunities for publications in international journals. The driving force behind our success is the diversity of members and international advisory board who provide inspiration, ideas, efforts, and drive collaborations. Scholars, researchers, professionals, academic teachers, and students are warmly invited to become a member of SSHRA and join our ever-growing network, working for the benefit of research and society with the spirit of knowledge sharing, mutual respect, and growth. Following these values, we kindly invite you to join our community and collaboration with us. As a member of SSHRA, you will be a part of progressive, comprehensive research association and play an absolutely essential role in helping us to enrich our scientific activities, maintain our long-standing commitment to the development of social science and humanities, and enhance our global impact. Thank you and welcome to SSHRA International Community. Connect, collaborate, and co-create an outstanding future with us.
Thank you, Dr. Marek, for such a wonderful presentation and such impressive words. Let's move forward with the conference. Next, we have an eminent speaker, Ma'am Associate Professor Kathleen Liptuk, PhD in Economics, Dr. Lure, Associate Professor, Head of the Department, Vice Dean, University of Miskolc, Faculty of Economics, Department of Labor Market and Employment Policy, Miskolc, Hungary. Let us see her presentation and
good morning. My name is Katalin Liptek. I am an associate professor and head of department and vice dean for education at the Faculty of Economics, University of Miskolc in Hungary. I am an economist, but I have a juris degree. My research field are regional labor market processes, regional economics, and sometimes I deal with a small labor law. I am currently researching the evaluation and development of the labor market and the changing labor market processes, as well as the social and solidarity economies. I am a member of the Hungarian Regional Science Association. I am a member of the editorial board of North Hungarian Strategy Booklet and editor-in-chief of Socialis series in Social Science Journal. I received yesterday 3 years of research scholarship from the Hungarian Science Academy called Bógai János Research Scholarship, so I am now very happy. I believe that COVID pandemic in 2020 and last year has changed our lives in many ways. Online conferences has become more and more popular and have used ever since. Adapting to this new environment is a key element, I think. I remember attending my first online conference in spring in 2020. I was very nervous about the technical conditions. It was a very strange situation for me. It was strange to give a presentation without seeing the faces and the reactions of the researchers. I soon got over that, and the following conferences didn't cause such excitement. I had to get used to the new environment. I think that Eurasia Research conferences has always been very easy to manage on Zoom platform. Perhaps coffee break discussions cannot replaced by online conferences, but the team activity discussion you have introduced has tried to make up for this. I think it was a great. There are many advantages to online conferencing. For those who don't like to travel so much, it's a great option. Not to mention the time factor. I spent half of my day at an online conference, for example, in Asia or in America, and the afternoon with my Hungarian students. This is, I think it's perfect. And including travel, it would take several days. It's a joke to tell my family after an online conference that the flight came quickly, so I back home again. But of course, I wasn't on the plane that day. I joined online to the conference. I'm happy to recommend and encourage my younger colleagues to participate in online conferences, as presenting results is an important part of academic life. Fortunately, my colleagues are also very active, so we have participated in dozens of online conferences over the past years, and we enjoyed it very. The conferences you organize always follow a very precise and punctual schedule. There are no delays and no overlong participant presentation. Everyone is very disciplined and attentive to the framework. And as I mentioned before, I think team activity is a great idea, and you always choose topics that are interesting for everyone, great less of discipline, and that everyone can contribute to, and they have a good atmosphere at your conferences. I enjoyed always.
I'm Dr. Vince.
Thank you, Ma'am Kathleen Liptek, for such wonderful presentation and praising us. Thank you so much. Let us move towards the conference and have our next eminent speaker for the day is Dr. Vincent Laplaca, University of Greenwich and Park Row, London. Let us see his video presentation.
St. Laplaca. I'm an associate professor of public health and policy at the University of Greenwich in London. I'm a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy in the UK and an honorary fellow of Terra. I have a PhD in psychology and social sciences, and I teach at the University of Greenwich. As I said, I'm an associate professor for public health and policy, and I teach on a number of modules. For example, research methods, public health and health policy, theoretical concepts and approaches to health and well-being. I teach undergraduates and I also teach postgraduates, and I supervise some PhDs as well. But I also do quite a lot of research. So, for example, we have a book coming out, what we might want to talk about a bit later, which has been co-edited and co-written with another author. So I've got quite a big background in both research, writing, and teaching. I would encourage friends and colleagues and people at the university to attend Eurasia Research activities and similar activities. I think it's a good opportunities that people shouldn't miss out on, to be able to meet a diverse collection of people, to be able to present your research to a diverse group of people. So my advice, especially to both to undergraduate and postgraduate students, to try every now and then to be able, in some environment, to present your research, get feedback, but also meet a nice bunch of individuals as well. And there seemed to be lots of good interaction, and I think people left with a good experience, having learned something new from somebody or learned something new from a different presentation, and overall came away with a very positive experience.
Good day, everyone.
Thank you, Professor Vincent Laplaca, for sharing your wonderful views with us. Let us move forward with the conference. Next, we have a conference schedule. Session 1 would be keynote talk. Session 2 would be team activity and photo session. Session 3 is going to be technical talk. Rename your Zoom account with your full name in English. This will help us to record your presence. You may ask your questions related to the presentation in the chat section while the presentations are going on. All the certificates, receipts, and proceedings will be sent to the participant within a week on their mail IDs. The proceedings will include all the full papers and abstracts except for the conference. Publication in peer-reviewed international journal. The publication process starts once the registration is complete. The author needs to send the papers, consent forms, and reviewer details on the email ID convener@eurasiaresearch.info. The review reports will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the authors. Please note that the publication process takes around 50 days after the conference dates if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the deadlines. Next, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. M.A. Victoria C. Magayon, researcher, author, curriculum writer, STEM, teacher, professional lecturer, formator, Theta Senior High School, DPED, Rizal. Her topic is Sentimentalities and Preparedness of senior high school students in the implementation of the face-to-face learning modality. Dr. M.A. Victoria Castello Magayo is a formatter, volunteer in supplementary values formation classes in public school under the Great Lighthouse Foundation, a professional lecturer, author of journal articles. Authored journal articles are indexed in Google Scholar, Mendeley, ResearchGate, and Academia, such as Learning Mathematics and Differentiated Instruction in the Philippines, Learning Mathematics and Differentiated Instructions in the Philippines, a phenomegraphical study on struggles and success of grade 7 students, a phenomegraphical study on struggles and success of grade 7 students, expectation versus reality, a sentiment analysis of students, experience on distance learning, the road less taken, differentiated instruction as practiced by grade 7 teachers in the Philippines, supplementary values saturation program among students in the Philippines, students' stance and value, technology adaptation of teachers and students under the Learning Continuity Plan, a case of one school in the Philippines, grade 7 mathematics textbooks differentiations in the Philippines, illusion or reality, and many more. A book author such as Organization and Management for Senior High School under Cleves Publishing House, and a peer reviewer of international journal articles, multidisciplinary and ISI journals for blondes. She is also a discussant of various topics, both local, school-based in set training and seminars, and in the international forum as a keynote speaker at 26th International Conference on Teaching and Education Learning, ICTL, Nanyang Technological University, Nanyang Execute Center, Singapore. Online keynote speaker in the 7th Singapore International Conference on Social Science and Humanities, 3rd-4th November 2020, 9th Singapore International Conference on Social Science, and 11th Singapore International Conference on Social Science and Humanities, June 24, 2022. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Philippine Normal University, Manila, Master of Arts in Education Major in Education Management, and Doctor of Education Major in Curriculum and Instruction, University of Santo Thomas. At present, she is faculty Science and Technology Engineering and Mathematics Department, teaching practical research 1-2 and capstone inquiries, capstone immersion, and other related subjects, and a guidance designated of Tete Senior High School, Division of RISEL. She is a regional learning resource evaluator in Educación sa Paggato since 2017 engagements such as in 2021, a conformance reviewer of homeroom guidance program module, regional level. And in 2020, as a learning resource calibrator and conformance reviewer in ESP in the division of RISEL, currently approved as an associate member of the National Research Council of the Philippines. Let us see Ma'am Victoria's presentation.
My topic is all about sentimentalities and preparedness of senior high school students in the implementation of face-to-face classes. I am Dr. Maria Victoria Castillo Magayon, STEM teacher, author, researcher, and a peer reviewer. The dimension of the learning environment. Literature and the learning environment research present different concepts, understanding and dimensions based on diverse epistemological and ontological perspectives. Learning environment was conceived as the social, physical, and psychological and pedagogical context in which learning occurs and which affects students' achievement and attitude, and which allow an organic understanding of the student's learning experience. While elements such as financial resources, structure, people, and time are associated with organization and government rules, processes, and priorities might affect educators and students in the learning environment. Their physical, pedagogical, and psychological dimensions play a central role in the learning process. Now, what is the sentimentalities of student and its relation on the learning environment? The importance of feelings, according to Dr. Leonardo Polo, resides overall in their relationship with intelligence and will, and not simply as their precedents, but as derivatives of the active dimension of the human being. Nevertheless, in our time, the spiritual faculties of man, intelligence, and will are discredited. That is why relativism has increased. That is to say, the opinion that denies the universality of truth as well as the control of will. That is why in our time we grant a greater credit of feelings. They appear regarded as those who remain after the doubt about the scope of intelligence and will. These days, we appeal to the feelings that are considered to be the most vital, the innermost that are in man. If man must be guided by his feelings, he is owing to the only way that remains after the crisis of intelligence and will. Forever guided by feelings is equivalent to be led by the host and leasing of hostilities we are not capable of driving. And what is the relationship of preparedness of students in the emotion or sentimentalities and the learning environment? Preparedness is an act of workmanship, and in a workmanship, we learn to embrace life and systematically enclose us to awareness that certain things and absolute things are anchored with responsibilities. We follow the protocols during pandemics without grumble because we realize as human, we are devout and embedded to value our life. We take responsibilities in inclination to what's ahead of us, and we take pride that at the moment of uncertainty quest, we are ready to pull those we put together, preparedness and underway protection. Now, in this study, the result of my study in terms of sentimentality of senior high school students in the implementation of the face-to-face classes, note that this data is only true, or we call this moderatum generalization, because the data is based and true only for a certain school in the Philippines. Hence, this might not true to all to other school. And what is the result of my survey? So, with the question, which of the following is the most challenging for you during the implementation of the face-to-face learning modality? So, out of 372 responses, and take note, in our implementation of the face-to-face learning modality, we are in the Philippines at this time. We are not yet implemented the full face-to-face classes, but rather we have this alternative face-to-face learning modality. Aside from face-to-face, we have this blended or online and face-to-face, and we have this high flex. We have at the same time some students are in the face-to-face, and some of students at the same time is in the online modality. So from that modality, these are the results. So number one, most challenging to students are the transportation allowance, followed by the distance of home and school, and then the academic requirements, or the number of learning activities required from the students, and then household chores is also significant challenging to them, and then followed by dress to wear, and then another significant is difficulty of students to adjust from remote learning to face-to-face. Next is, this is the consolidated sentiments of students in the open-ended question. On the positive note, some students, majority of the students said that they are enjoying, they are happy and thankful. Some students said that they learn more. Other said the implementation was organized and with discipline. And then some students relate that the teaching is with quality. They are amazed how teachers still teach despite of the limited time allotted per subject. On the negative note, some students said that they are not favor with the blended because to them it's hard for them to cope up, and they can follow the discussion for some reason, like internet connectivity. And then some said limited time per subject. They want more exercises to understand the lesson, more words of encouragement from their teachers, and also they suggested that if possible, reduce the number of learning activities, the requirements per subject. And then overall, the sentiments of the students are, they are satisfied, and majority of them said that it is okay. Next is the preparedness of the students. So I have also a survey. So using statements in using the a priori, so I crafted the questionnaire, a survey questionnaire, and the result of the survey are as follows. So it is noted that students are the manifestation of readiness of students in terms of following the rules of regulation in school are the most got the highest point with 3.7, with the verbal interpretation extremely ready, and then with the their eagerness to go to school by indicating that they are preparing everything before going to face with 3.6. Also, the readiness to wear face mask in the entire duration of of their classes is also a manifestation of their preparedness or readiness in the face-to-face classes. And the manifestation of they are willing to listen carefully to the lecture instruction of their teachers are also got extremely ready. And while in this survey, the less appreciated is I think the time allotted per subject is short. I want more. So, significantly, factors that are significant in this survey. So, in terms of the status of students, there is no significant relationship, but there's no significant relationship between regular student back to school or returning students or student with retained to grade 11 or transferee. There is no significant difference. Next is the strand. In the relationship between strand or significant difference of the answers of the preparedness of the students in terms of strand, it is significant. It is significant because the p-value is 0.00.001, which means it is lower than the critical value of 0.05. Next, in terms of age, it turns out that older students are more prepared than the younger one. So with 3 point, it is also showed in the main average of the students with 3.7. Next, in conclusion, the sentimentalities and preparedness of senior high school students in the implementation of face-to-face. In the preparedness, the main average of the students in the survey is 3.5 over 4, meaning they are noticeably ready. And so in terms of gender, grade level, status in school, there's no significant difference. While in strand, there is significant difference. Age also is in strand, sports track is more prepared than other strand. While age, the older one is more prepared than the younger ones. This is my reference. Thank you for listening. Again, good day, everyone.
I'm honored
Thank you, Dr. M.A. Victoria, for such a wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something over there with your presentation?
I hope that the result of my survey can be relatable to other countries or other school. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. And if anybody has any questions, you can put it in the chat box. The speaker will try to answer it over there. Meanwhile, I'll also request everyone to please put your cameras on. Moving forward with the conference. Next, we have a keynote speaker, Dr. Shazia Malik, Assistant Professor at the Department of Early Childhood Education, Institute of Education and Research, University of the Punjab, Lahore, Pakistan. Her topic is Talk on Teachers and Students' Perspective Regarding Online Classes in the Universities of Lahore. Dr. Shazia Malik is currently working as Assistant Professor at the Department of Early Childhood Education, Institute of Education and Research, University of the Punjab, Lahore, Pakistan. She has completed PhD education from University Putra, Malaysia, with specialization in the area of curriculum and instruction. She not only completed her PhD within 3 years with a certificate of graduation on time, she also won the Best Graduate Award from Faculty of Educational Studies, University Putra, Malaysia, on her doctoral research work. She has participated in 3-minute thesis competition inside University of Putra, Malaysia. After completing her PhD, she was awarded 1-year contract scholarship from HEC, Higher Education Commission, Pakistan, to serve in Punjab National University, Lahore, Pakistan, with assistant professor designation. She has published almost 17 research papers in national and international journals. She has presented almost 12 research papers as presenter in national and international conferences, including the states of Prague, Turkey, Malaysia, and Pakistan. On the base of her research work, Higher Education Commission, Pakistan, has rewarded her the title of PhD approved supervisor in Pakistan. She is teaching in the field of education to master's, MPhil, and professional degree scholars with their coursework and research work. Unfortunately, due to some medical issues, Dr. Shazia Malik would not be able to give her presentation. So let us move forward with our next keynote. Our next keynote for the day is Dr. Sita Sagaran, personal development trainer, lifestyle consultant, motivational speaker, mentor, UAE. Her topic is the importance of trust in leadership. Sita Sagaran is a personal development trainer, lifestyle consultant, and motivational speaker with a background in English, psychology, counseling, including crisis and trauma counseling, UK, hypnotherapy, metaphor therapy, and teaching children with special needs. She is also licensed practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming from the Society of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, a Toastmasters International member for the last 17 years. She is also a distinguished Toastmaster in 2020. She launched her customized online personal and professional mentoring program, the Nanku Kurunaisa Mentoring Program. Sita is a co-author of the motivational book, Your Dose of Motivation, published in the 2020. She has shared some lessons from her life and attempted to simplify the concept of self-motivation in the book. As a co-author of the motivational book, Women Who Inspire, published in 2021, she has elaborated on the importance of mentors in life and the positive impact that mentors can make in our lives. She also co-authored the 2021 published book of short stories, that is Sagas of Destiny, and the same year co-authored an anthology of poems, Reverie. She is also a co-author of a recently published book on leadership, We Are Leaders, Expressions and Experiences, a recipient of Global Training and Development Leadership Award 2017, Exceptional Women of Excellence Award 2020, and Iconic Women Creating a Better World for All Award 2020. She was also a recipient of Exceptional Leader of Excellence Award 2021 and Outstanding International Guest Speaker of the Year 2021. Sita was included in the World Book of Onser Queens 2021 as one of the top 100 influential women of 2021. Her training, motivational workshops, programs, and keynote sessions focus on individual development through interactive learning and mutual empowerment. Sita's training programs and motivational sessions also emphasize inner peace, well-being, and participants' confidence. She has conducted corporate, educational, and social service and welfare training workshops, motivational sessions in UAE, India, Seychelles, Canada, and the UK. She has also attended conferences in the UAE, India, Sri Lanka, Singapore, and Italy as a keynote motivational speaker. Sita has also presented virtual keynote and motivational sessions in conferences conducted in the Netherlands, UK, Australia, Turkey, Thailand, Malaysia, Spain, and France. Let us see what Ma'am Sita has to say as she's going to present online. I would request her to please share her screen.
Thank you very much, Abhilasha. It's a pleasure once again to be part of the Eurasia conference. It feels so much like family because every time I am getting this opportunity, it's great to know more people, more professionals in the field of education and more. It was Henry Cloud who mentioned that leadership is not taken, it is given. People give leadership to those that they trust. They allow people that they trust to have influence over their lives. In Harvard Business Review, that is the issue that is from February 2017, it was Dr. Paul Daszak, the founding director of the Center for Neuroeconomic Studies and professor of economics and psychology and management of Claremont Graduate University and the CEO of Immersion Neuroscience. He's also the author of Trust Factor, the science of creating high-performance companies. In fact, Professor Zak, in his article, The Neuroscience of Trust, talks about management behavior that fosters employee engagement. He conveys that building a culture of trust is what makes a meaningful impact. Now, how many of you believe that trust is playing a vital role in our personal and professional life? Can I see a show of hands, please? Thank you, Abhilasha. Thank you. In fact, what is interesting to know here is that employees in high trust organizations are seen to be more productive, have more energy at work. They are more keen on collaborating better with their colleagues, and they also stay with their employers longer than people working at low trust companies. They suffer less from chronic stress, which is not surprising as well. They are happy with their lives, and these factors fuel stronger performance. Dr. Zak found that through research that compared with people at low trust companies, people at high trust companies report 74% less stress, 106% more energy at work, 50% higher productivity, 13% fewer sick days, 76% more engagement, and interestingly, 29% more satisfaction with their lives, 40% less burnout as well. So he identified a few key management behaviors that foster trust, that are measurable, and can be managed to improve overall performance. Now let's know a little bit about what are some of the key ingredients that promotes trust when it comes to leadership in organization. The first one is recognizing excellence. Each one of us, we would love to get recognition for what we are doing in an exemplary manner. So recognizing excellence comes through recognition that is seen to have the largest effect on trust when it occurs immediately after a goal has been met. Recognition not only celebrates successes, but also inspires others to aim for excellence so that others can learn from them. Now, as professors and teachers who are here today with us, I would love to have one of our educators share a little bit about how you may have recognized excellence in your students. Any one of you, we would love to hear from you. Dr. Victoria, would you like to share with us what are some of your key practices?
I see to it that I set as an example. This is the reason why I always go for this kind of platform. I registered. I always go for the research congress for them to be exposed, being my example. That's what I use for them to be motivated, especially my subject is about research. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Victoria. I think when it comes to any field, whether it is the field of education or even the corporate field, we're all conscious about recognizing excellence because it's a great way to motivate people into becoming better and also making greater progress. The second tip that he has shared is to induce challenge stress. Now, what is challenge stress? Challenge stress is when the team is given a task which is, of course, challenging, yet which is achievable. They are able to collaborate better, will have greater clarity in how to achieve that task with the team effort. However, sometimes what happens in organizations is that the challenge is such which may not be very understood by the team, and hence the stress level is greater than what is practical and what is needed for the completion of the goal. So by inducing a moderate stress to help a team to achieve the target better, the need for achievability also fosters trust. However, leaders should check frequently to assess progress and to also make adjustments so that the goal can be met with greater collaboration and, of course, with a healthy level of stress. The third one is sharing information broadly. Now, what do you mean sharing information? When we talk about sharing information in an organization, many companies may not feel very happy or very comfortable about sharing information about themselves. But by keeping employees well informed about their company's goals, strategies, and tactics, companies can reduce the uncertainty that employees experience and which inhibits teamwork. So I think this is also enabling us to be more transparent, not just in our personal relationships, but also in the manner we look at our professional life and organizational relationships as well. The fourth one is to help build relationships. Yes, you heard it right. Organizations that do not just focus on the professional impact of employees, but also focus on their overall wellness, definitely is making sure that employees feel they are trusted and they are valued better. So Dr. Zach found that through his neuroscience experiments, that when people build social ties at work, their performance improves. Leaders and organizations can help build social connections by sponsoring lunches, after work parties, and also team building activities, which can also help people feel closer to each other and help improve their collaboration too as a team. The fifth one is to facilitate a whole person growth. Now, what is whole person growth here? When we talk about whole person growth, the first thought that comes is, why should it matter? I think a lot of you here who is part of this webinar, most of you are educators. Am I right, Abhilasha? I think most of our attendees and our speakers are from the field of education. So I would like to ask one of you to share with me on how do you help a student not just become good in your subject, but grow as a person. One of you, we would love to know a little more. How about Mara?
In general, I try to give them like more tips and tricks on where they can find, I don't know, more information sources, or again, tips and tricks on how to learn better, what to read, what to trust, what to not trust. I mean, I think this is sometimes more helpful than the information itself we teach them in our classes. So in general, I try to give them this kind of tips and tricks on where is better to get information from, what sources you should trust, and what sources you shouldn't trust, and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much, Mara. But what is the age group of your students?
Their bachelor's degree in general.
Okay. So how exactly do you, I'm sorry, you were saying something.
I was saying that they're in general like second year bachelor and also third year bachelor. I don't have for them, like I don't have first year bachelors yet.
Okay. But on a one-to-one personal interaction, how have you is there any incident that comes to your mind where you have been able to successfully help them grow at a personal level as well, and not just as a student?
So at a personal level, but it wasn't like a one-to-one meeting, but I can tell you something. In general, I teach marketing related disciplines.
Okay.
But every time like we start a seminar, I also start like with like at the beginning of the year or something like this. I'm just like, okay, I know I'm here to teach you marketing. I know I'm here to teach you how to do more sales and everything. But I usually start with the bad part of selling too much, of consuming too much, of buying not necessary products. I teach them about how not to trust everything they see on ads, everything they see on social media. And I think this is also useful for them. Absolutely. Because like I said, they as marketing students, they have to know like how to do good marketing campaigns, how to sell things. But it's also important to be aware of the negative impact of too much marketing campaigns, too many ads seen, how intrusive they are sometimes, how can promote sometimes like not realistic things. And yeah, so I think it's also useful for them as people, not for them as students, just to know how to act like in their day-by-day life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's so true. And being true and being transparent goes together. And I think that forms trust to a great degree as well. So when we thank you very much for sharing, Professor Mara, I really appreciate that. So when we talk about facilitating a whole person growth, we talk about making sure that the higher trust in workplaces or even in educational fields help students or people develop personally as well as professionally, because they adopt a growth mindset when developing a talent, that is the organization or the educator, and at the same time by assessing personal and professional growth. It includes having discussions about work-life balance, integrating family life as well, and also time for reflections, because reflections are also very important for our growth. We need to know and be conscious about what have we done right, what could have been better. And one more tip that I'd like to mention here, which Dr. Zach had mentioned, was to show vulnerability without fear. Now, for a lot of leaders, it's only their strengths that they feel confident about. They do not feel very comfortable about others knowing their areas that need improvement, which I personally think may not be the most ideal approach to have, because none of us are perfect. And the more we acknowledge that, the more we are willing to share what we don't know. So instead of just telling your team or even your students what to do, I think what is important is teachers are also comfortable, or even leaders are comfortable about telling their student or even their team that, I'm sorry, I don't know. Can you tell me? Because the moment when you're willing to ask for help, ask for information that we may not know, it helps and taps into the human impulse to cooperate with others better. We are talking about those we are asking help from or asking information from. So I think all in all, what I would ideally say is the importance of trust in leaders and leadership can never be underrated. It is a very, very essential key area that leaders need to recognize, appreciate, acknowledge, and most of all, respect with humility. And I would like, before I conclude, I would love to know if I have any questions that you would like me to answer.
I was gonna say that I kind of do the same thing you said, like when the university, like on September when the university starts, we have that introductory meeting, and like I like to start by saying that I know we're gonna spend this semester like in a, I don't know, I have to teach you things, but I don't want you to see things like that. You can also try to I don't know, to say well, I don't think it's like that, I don't think it's like what you say. We can discuss things. I am learning while you learn too, so it's not always me as a teacher, I'm teaching you. We can discuss and learn together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Professor Mara, for sharing your input and insight. Anyone would like to ask any questions regarding trust and the importance of trust in leadership? I think if there are no questions, and in case you do come across some questions that you would like to ask me, please feel free to send me an email and I would be happy to get back to you. Thank you very much. And before I hand it back to our very vibrant and cheerful Abhilasha, I would like to please convey that with due apologies, I would need to be excused from this event because I am working and I have another meeting shortly. So with due regret, I would need to take leave of the event. Thank you very much and wishing you all a wonderful day and all the best for your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Sita Sagaran, for sharing your knowledge with us and just showering us with great information every time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abhilasha. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Okay, let's move forward with the conference now. And if anybody has any questions, you can always put it in the chat box. The speaker will try to answer it over there. And meanwhile, I'll request everyone to please put your cameras on with the conference.
Sorry to interrupt you, Abhilasha. I've also put my email address, I think, in the chat box. Okay. So even when I'm excusing myself from the conference, you're always able to get through to me, either through email or even through social media.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, next we have a team activity and photo session. Let us proceed towards a team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity of connection and linkage with fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants one by one. We will share the views and solutions on the topic of discussion, and also we will be conducting a photo session during the same. The topic of discussion for today's team activity is how false news can be spread. Let us see a presentation on that.
There's a quote usually attributed to the writer Mark Twain that goes, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes." Funny thing about that, there's reason to doubt that Mark Twain ever said this at all, thus, ironically, proving the point. And today, the quote, whoever said it, is truer than ever before. In previous decades, most media with global reach consisted of several major newspapers and networks which had the resources to gather information directly. Outlets like Reuters and the Associated Press that aggregate or re-report stories were relatively rare compared to today. The speed with which information spreads now has created the ideal conditions for a phenomenon known as circular reporting. This is when publication A publishes misinformation, publication B reprints it, and publication A then cites B as the source for the information. It's also considered a form of circular reporting when multiple publications report on the same initial piece of false information, which then appears to another author as having been verified by multiple sources. For instance, the 1998 publication of a single pseudoscientific paper arguing that routine vaccination of children causes autism inspired an entire anti-vaccination movement, despite the fact that the original paper has repeatedly been discredited by the scientific community. Deliberately unvaccinated children are now contracting contagious diseases that had been virtually eradicated in the United States, with some infections proving fatal. In a slightly less dire example, satirical articles that are formatted to resemble real ones can also be picked up by outlets not in on the joke. For example, a joke article in the reputable British Medical Journal entitled "Energy Expenditure in Adolescents Playing New Generation Computer Games" has been referenced in serious science publications over 400 times. User-generated content, such as wikis, are also a common contributor to circular reporting. As more writers come to rely on such pages for quick information, an unverified fact in a wiki page can make its way into a published article that may later be added as a citation for the very same wiki information, making it much harder to debunk. Recent advances in communication technology have had immeasurable benefits in breaking down the barriers between information and people. But our desire for quick answers may overpower the desire to be certain of their validity. And when this bias can be multiplied by billions of people around the world nearly instantaneously, more caution is in order. Avoiding sensationalist media, searching for criticisms of suspicious information, and tracing the original source of a report can help slow down a lie, giving the truth more time to put on its shoes.
Okay, everyone, we just had a video presentation of the team activity, and I would like to know everybody's views individually on this team activity video. So let us start with Dr. M.A. Victoria Magayon.
Yes, it's actually a reality. Seeing that video, the more I appreciate peer-reviewed journal because peer-reviewed journal, it's a go-through process. Like for one, I am a peer reviewer of various international journal. I see the rigor and the repetitive process in it. So that's why whenever I teach my students about related literature, I told them that go for the reviewed or referred journal. No gray literature because like I am not discrediting newspapers or blogs, but the process of being article reviewed by the experts is it takes time. It takes time, and from that process, we can ensure that the paper or the research article is been thoroughly critiqued or reviewed to surface its merit and truthfulness of that article. That's all.
Thank you, Ma'am Victoria, for sharing your views with us. Next, we would like to have views from Jeniel about the team activity video.
All right. Let's go to the technicals first because false news, it is a fabricated information that intends to deceive and mislead others. And as of now, there is a worldwide concern over false news and the possibility that it is a great influence to our social political identity. And with the growing social media use among us and the advancing technology that we use, it is now possible for anyone to push misinformation that isolates the facts that we really search for. As for my local experience here in the Philippines, false news can either be spread deliberately or not. And I think this is also a global concern. Any posts in social media platforms, false news is always emotionally charged. Emotions play a big part on this issue because majority of the false news we encounter aims to provoke a reaction in us with the attempt to push people further share the posts. This usually starts among our trusted networks like our friends and family. Then with the growing presence of fake accounts, algorithmic bots, who tends to have a large number of followers, this usually starts with the spread of false news. So this can spread through like propaganda, clickbait headlines, biased content, and of course, conspiracy theories. Well, to begin with, everyone does not have the sufficient resources for fact checking. It is not that we do not put enough efforts in verifying the authenticity of the information handed to us. It is more of we have limited access into knowing whether or not certain information is true. And people are always more vulnerable against false news because the content of the news is always used by everyday language that we can easily read and understand. And what is more crucial here is what happens afterwards. We absorb the news. It is when people believe what they want to believe, ignoring also what others might think and believe. This is the nature that has been happening in the Philippines, and every news can easily be fabricated as long as there is a community that can easily push it online. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Jeniel, for sharing your views with us. Next, I would like to have Ms. Mara Matku for sharing your views about the theme activity video.
Yes, hello again. I also have a journalism background, so we learned this in when I was doing bachelor's degree. But beside that, we discussed a lot about this topic with our teachers, but to sum up, what I think is like the most important thing from the video, it was the part when they were saying that the reason false news are spreaded and trusted is because our desire to get information more quicker is more important than becomes more important sometimes than being sure that that piece of information is true or reliable or and so on. And I think this happens because we're like so used with all these technology, and we're so used to do everything quick, to get on meetings online, to I don't know, everyone is like a message distance away from us, and so on and so forth. So this is why we always want things quicker. But what I would see like as a solution to this is that I think we need a new discipline like in our schools, and I think it would be useful for schools to have this, I don't know, social media education or social media class, because I think that with the nowadays technology improvement, we really need this. We need to teach children and students while they are in school, what sources to trust, what sources not to trust, how to be aware of their of all the social media sides, like the good sides and the bad sides. So this is what I see as a potential solutions for this. Like it's clear that, like, I don't know, some decades ago this type of discipline was not even, I don't know, an option, but we have to, I don't know, introduce more disciplines while we improve our evolution. There are like more disciplines needed, and I think this one would be a very useful one. And I think that's it.
Thank you, ma'am Mara, for sharing your views with us. Let us have the views from Zupan Shan. So please share your views about the video.
Hello, everyone. As far as I'm concerned, many people now get news from social media sites and networks. and often it can be difficult to tell whether stories are credible or not. Information overload and a general lack of understanding about how the internet works by people has also contributed to an increase in fake news. And I think that social media sites can play a big part in increasing the reach of these type of stories. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Shupang, for sharing your views with us. Next, I would like to know, Ma'am Lydia Kamau, your views about the team activity video.
Yes, hello everybody. I am Lydia Kamau, a student in Chuka University. And it is true that false news tends to spread faster than even the good news or the true news, simply because I think we as human beings are more inclined to accept information that we relate to or affects us personally, or at least we are inclined to have an inclination to a particular set of news. So if, for example, I like discussing topics related to like relationships, so when a post is online and it is relating to information or displaying information on relationship management and all that, I will tend to view this information from a subjective kind of view, which then means that I'm going to forward or retweet information that is basically dependent on whether I have an attachment to it or otherwise. However, I think of the most importance is to have an idea of how do we ensure that we do not send or retweet information that is wrong. Well, we can always check the validity and the objectivity of this information, confirm the biasness, see whether the person who wrote the article is an authority in that particular topic. And if they look again, we also look at aspects of whether the information that is displayed there is current, is it updated, is it something that is usable in the day and age that we're living in. And again, also, who else is of that opinion that is being posted there, what we commonly call peer review in the scholarly language. So it's important for us to verify all these things before we can decide to own that information as true. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Lydia, for sharing your views with us. Meanwhile, I'll request everyone to please keep your cameras on. Sir Mike, you want to share your views in the chat box? Or you're able to share your views? Sir Mike Zhao? Am I audible? Yes, sir, you can type your thoughts in the chat box. Okay, let's move forward with the conference. So next we have our first presenter of the day, Shangxiang Zhao, Social Science, Shanghai Ping School, Chang'an, China. His topic of presentation is, how does the coronavirus pandemic affect China international trade practices? You may also read his abstract. Let us see his video presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Xunxiang Zhou, and my English name is Mike. I'm an international high school student in China. I'm honored to be invited to the meeting. So, let me talk about my research topic. My research topic is how does the coronavirus pandemic affect China's international trade practice? So what exactly does the research talk about? My research aims to explore the impact of the epidemic on China's import and export, volumes and structure, The overall goal is helping to sum up the lure, avoid the causing bigger economic losses. And all the data comes from the World Bank web. And then let's talk about the significance of the research. As we all know in that it only took a few months for the serious global outbreak of the coronavirus to develop into a public health crisis, and in response to the initial wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, China's manufacturing industries took a relatively lengthy span to adapt than they expected, and which dragged down the volume of the import and export activities. For example, between March and June this year, in Shanghai, China's most China's most important economy capitals, and the China Shanghai port, which was the world's largest cargo handling capacity, were closed by the Chinese government, just because of the coronavirus. Problems like that have led to slow down on China's economy and export. This is one of the main reasons to global inflation uncertainty, global commodity price increase, exchange rate movements. There are three main challenges for China. At present, the international market demand is seriously shrinking. Foreign trade enterprises are generally faced with the cancellation or extinction of the existing order, new order signing difficulties, and other problems. It faces a two-way pressure from demand side and supply side. Labor-intensive products will be significantly affected in the short term, but exports of the masks, protective clothing, and other anti-epidemic materials have grown rapidly. Affected by the spread of the pandemic, large areas of the production in major economies have been shut down, and the upstream supply chain of Chinese enterprise have been hindered. Among them, the automotive, electronic products, and other industries have been hit hardest by the supply of the intermediate goods and capital goods. In some important raw materials, equipment, and parts have encountered difficulties in supply, and prices have continued to rise. On the other hand, with the continued impact of the epidemic, foreign trade enterprises are also facing a decline in demand from the overseas enterprise. And the WTO conservatively estimates that the goods need to be shipped from the factories or farms. Sending it across the border increase the cost of the trade by 25%. The above problems have affected China's foreign trade in many ways, such as the delay in international transportation, increasing the logistic costs, and the business negotiation. As a result, it has become more difficult to enterprise to fulfill their contracts, and often the order downsides risks up to the foreign trade. And most important, the research stats. I divided the import and export data into 4 groups, total in 8 groups. And this is the table data. I turned all the data into the bar chart, and then through the comparative analysis, a regression calculation, I find some object floors and conclusion. As shown in the figure, the total exports are only related to the commercial service exports. Commercial service exports are positively correlated with the total export, and accuracy rate is 95%. As shown in the figure, it can be seen that it is only related to the import of the goods and service and the import of PU. Import of the goods and service and total imports are negatively correlated and are accuracy set at 95%. Few import and total import are positively correlated and have an accuracy of 99%. Comparing the specific data of import and export. The import and export one are only related to the import and export of goods and services, and the accuracy rate is 99%. After analysis, I have some conclusion. The government can further improve the export tax rebate policy to reduce the burden on the enterprises. The government guides the financial institution to increase the supply of the foreign trade credit to meet the demand for the trade financing. A variety of the channels, a variety of ways to timely understand the foreign trade enterprise or the changes. And second is the government will optimize the industry structure and shift from the high-speed development to the high-quality development. From the data obtained, we can see that the import of some sophisticated equipment or part has put a great pressure on the Chinese international trade. So it is necessary to develop independently to mitigate the impact of the globalization virulence. Yes. And third is strengthen international cooperation to epidemic prevention and control jointly promotes the smooth flow of the international industry, supply and the logistics chains, and work with other countries to ensure the stability and security of the global supply chain, so as to contribute to the stability of the global economy and trade. And if there are 10 or more cases of the COVID-19, the government may choose to lock down an entire block, strict and other areas and isolation. Anyone who has been in contact with the patient in the past 7 days will be sent to an isolation center. Nucleic acid tests are carried out every day throughout the city. This is a very unscientific means of the epidemic prevention. Even though it looks serious, the reality is that many countries are treated the coronavirus completed as a normal infectious diseases. At the same time, in the case of the vaccination, the fatality rate is very low. There is no need for large-scale lockdown and nucleic acid testing. What is needed is more reasonable is the prevention measure in line with the scientific of the virus transmission, so as to make more reasonable political measure from the roots. And the prospect and the research shortage. Only through the concerted efforts and scientific prevention and control can let the economy recover and grow gradually. My research also have some shortage. The first one is, although this paper adds the commodity classification data of foreign trade and economic background factors such as the development of the China's manufacturing industry to the empirical evidence, it still failed to make a more detailed, in-depth analysis of the general backgrounds of China's economy under the new coronavirus, and cannot comprehensively show the rapid response to the efficient handling of China under the complex backgrounds when facing the major public emergence, and there is room for further improvement in the control of some factors. in the future studies, we can try to include the data related to the development of the China's education industry and the internet, in order to study the import and export trade under the new coronavirus pandemic. And the second is, and I was only able to analyze the decading loan data on an annual basis. No quarterly analysis can be done after the outbreaks. Of course, quarterly data will have more data fluctuation to be more responsive to data issue.
Hello.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful presentation. Also, I would ask you if you would like to add anything over here. Sir? Thank you for your presentation. Would you like to add anything along here with your presentation? Anything extra? If anybody has any questions, you can put it in the chat box. Let us just move forward with the conference. Today's next presenter of the day is Jeniel Villamera, Faculty of Arts and Letters, University of Santo Tomas, Manila, Philippines. Her topic of presentation is Political Gaslighting of Trolls Under the Duterte Regime. You may also read her abstract. Let us see her presentation.
To start, I am going to introduce myself. I am Janiel Villamera. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I am currently 23 years old, and I graduated in the University of Santo Tomas with a degree in AB Literature and with a distinction of cum laude back in 2019. While I'm spending my free time doing scholarly researches, I am also looking forward in my career growth in the academe because I plan to take my master's degree in forensic psychology in the United Kingdom. I chose that degree because my first job was in the corporate security industry as a research and communications associate, focusing in social media intelligence, which mainly prompted me to do this research because I knew the ins and outs of the online world. Also, since I have been on remote work since last year, I am trying to be more flexible by engaging in solo traveling in Asia to immerse in different cultures and of course see some tourist sites. Before I took my opportunities in the academe, I used to be a creative writer, participating in various art workshops, and now I spend my leisure time solo traveling, reading creative pieces, and watching films based from these pieces. Going forward, I am going to discuss my research topic and the problems of previous existing researches, to which I saw the need in exploring this study. According to a report by a US organization named Freedom House, the Philippines is included in the 30 countries worldwide that allows manipulation of information posted online. The topic of my paper talks about how the strongman leadership of former President Rodrigo Duterte enabled to create a crowd that agrees, follows, and praises his campaign promises and agenda. In other words, Duterte created an online crowd that are willing to distribute his political stances in a manner that the ordinary masses can understand and follow. Known to be composed of digital influencers, fake accounts, and algorithmic bots, their goal is to include themselves as Duterte's supporters, while also giving praise and walking the talk, whichever is the public opinion of the status quo. With trolling cases on the rise, especially in underdeveloped countries, the political landscape in the Philippines is greatly saturated with fake news, disinformation campaigns, and other tactics manipulating information that are distressingly coming from politicians themselves. From these tactics, Duterte was casted in the light as a straightforward and simple politician with a solid political will for the people, which diverted his supporters from what the raw facts tell about, that there has been 1,000 cases of human rights violations and corruption cases under his administration. As trolls plague social media platforms, online experts and users themselves cannot anymore contain sites that affect their overall performance, not only in politics, but also online. This kind of perspectival shift in political branding shows how critical and fragile online spaces are for the history and future of Philippine politics. Why I explored an in-depth research in political gaslighting is because there has been scarce research concerning the trolling culture in politics. Most researchers view trolling as something only for satirical purposes, not something that can widely and deeply affect the political consciousness of the affected online users. As much as underdeveloped countries in Asia are often targeted, I see the need to further explore and analyze it from a socio-political perspective. Next, the research method I used in my paper was exploratory case study, where I intend to provide an in-depth discussion of the digital media's influence in the political landscape of the Philippines. In addition to this, the said method helped me in exploring the socio-cultural phenomenon of the term political gaslighting that were evident across all social media platforms. As said earlier, there are rare studies involving the Philippines that gives a discourse on political trolling in general, which is why I asserted that there is an investigative need to understand that online trolling and online political trolls are made to distract online users by triggering political sentiments among them through fake news and disinformation campaigns, which eventually greatly affects their political consciousness and voter participation. This type of provocation is an example of political gaslighting, a form of psychological warfare well used using power and persuasion in distributing information. It is typical that the gaslighting process include confusion, lying, deception, isolation, denial, accusation, and manipulation. The political gaslighting tactic take advantage of vulnerable audiences because they produce a power dynamic where the gaslighted struggles to be confident or independent enough to challenge narratives. This process either include controlling the whole situation to stop conflict or denying events while also denying accountability. While the performance of political gaslighting among online political trolls, independent scholars, and pro-Duterte people alike, Duterte himself became the topic of majority of the political conversations online. According to a confessed troll, they attempt to instigate arguments in defense of Duterte, where their impersonation ranges from a concerned online citizen to struggling overseas Filipino workers. As trolls delivered the drug war issue with urgency, online communities were captured for its relatability factor, which led them to think that without Duterte enacting those solutions, their families and the country are at risk against drugs. To date, he became involved in 64% of all electoral-related conversations, while 12 million pro-Duterte pages and social media accounts were traced to have been created. According to the former ABS-CBN sales chief and Duterte social media manager Nick Gabonada, he built the online network with a budget of 10 million pesos and started with 500 volunteers, which eventually increased the network up to 800,000 members. In March 2019, Facebook revealed that they removed 200 pages and accounts created by Gabonada. With this amount of percentage, trolling plagued social media platforms that their manner of conversing such political discourse was normalized. Since 2016, the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino, Lakas ng Bayan, a party list in the Philippines under Duterte and involving other Dutertes, had an organizational budget of $200,000 and a 400 to 500 staff capacity to run an online troll army with 92.5 million Filipino active social media users. Amnesty International reported more than 7,000 were killed during his first months in 2016, whereas the estimated data from 2016 to 2022 were raised up to 30,000 deaths. At the end of 2021, the sociological phenomenon of political gaslighting under the Duterte regime resulted to a strong approval rating of 72%, eventually leading to Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos' presidential win. The rampant disinformation campaigns online revealed how fragile history is. A month before the 2022 national elections showed that 95% of false claims were in favor of Duterte, while 92% were in favor of Marcos. This data proves how the online sphere can be alternative information ecosystem for an authoritarian populist regime. Such misleading content exposes how easy it is for the government to propagandize, paving way to worsen the political division among the people. Victims who lack access or resources for fact-checking initiatives fall for content that is viral, engaging, and sensational. This shows how trolls use attention as their most valuable asset, given the internet is a stockpile of various information. And that ends my presentation and my research paper entitled Political Gaslighting of Trolls under the Duterte Regime.
Thank you, ma'am Danielle Valamera, for such a wonderful presentation. I would like to ask you, would you like to add anything over there along with your presentation?
All right. This presentation is for to talk about that disinformation campaigns are not only handed to us through online preferences, advertisements, and engagements. These can further imbibe to us psychologically. So with that, I hope my research will help to let us strive further to provide each other with sufficient fact-checking resources, because under any regime, the act of knowing any information is crucial. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Danielle, for sharing your views. Uh, Also, if anybody has any questions, you can put it up here. The speaker will try to answer it. And also you can put it in the chat box. Your questions would be answered over there. Moving forward with the conference. Our next presenter of the day is Shupang Shan, School of Public Administration, Xi'an University, Chengdu, China. His topic of presentation is what influences the choice of local government collaboration networks, a meta-analysis. You may also read his abstract. Let us see his video presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm very honored to be able to participate in this academic conference. My name is Shan Xuepeng from the School of Public Administration, Sichuan University. The title of my paper today is What Influenced the Choice of Local Government Collaboration Networks? A meta-analysis. As we know, collaborative governance is an arrangement that solves public problems in the policy process. An awareness of the motivation for local governments to establish networks can improve the explanatory power of collaborative governance theories. My sharing consists of the following 4 parts. First, I propose research questions. The paper mainly studies the influencing factor of local government collaboration networks. Secondly, a specific research design is carried out for the research question of the paper. Thirdly, the research results of this paper are reported. Finally, the research conclusions and research prospects of this paper are presented. In terms of research questions, the research questions of this paper are proposed mainly from the perspective of theory, practice, and fragmented research tendencies. In theory, collaborative public management, network governance, and the pursuit of legitimate public policies have affected the institution of collaborative governments. And a variety of different elements have been proposed for the study of intergovernmental cooperation network. In practice, the experience of collaborative governments with large scale environmental and complex resource and that of the private sector have successfully promoted collaborative governments in the public sector. In response to now research tense, the study proposed research question for local government collaboration networks. Aiming at the research question, this paper has developed a research design. First, the study reviewed the existing research and proposed the research hypothesis of this paper. First, local governments with different governments resources are easier to establish a collaboration network. Secondly, in collaboration networks, local governments that have similar character create linkage with each other. Finally, local governments may establish different network structures. Second, the research has searched with keywords in Table 1 in Web of Science and ThinkAI databases. Our research identified 1,436 journal research papers to ensure quality and rigor. Selected articles were peer-reviewed, and the conference paper and the working paper were not considered. Given this criteria, 40 documents were obtained. The process of document inclusion and exclusion is illustrated in Figure 1. The third part of the study presents the results. As shown, the horizontal axis is the converted value of Fisher's z-effect, and the vertical axis is the standard deviation of Fisher's z-effect. Most of the study were located in the upper part of the locus, and there were few base studies. The symmetry of photo plots indicated that the research did not have a large amount of publication bias. The 5 factors of reciprocity, geographic proximity, same jurisdiction, transitive tribalize, and population decreased in that order. The effect of different factors on collaboration network is partly confirmed. The meta-analysis particularly verified the homeotic hypothesis of local government collaboration network. By integrating the empirical results obtained from different cases, the meta-analysis results show that local governments prefer to achieve two structures: reciprocity and transitive tribalize. At the end of the article, the study summarizes the conclusions. Firstly, the results of the meta-analysis opened a dialogue with the disputes about homogeneity and heterogeneity. The meta-analysis results of the geographical location, characteristics of local governments echo the collaborative governments' motivations proposed by institutional collective action. The choice of the local government collaboration network structure validated the local government's preference for simple structure. Finally, our finding indicated that simply factors are not enough to explain collaboration network. More evidence is required for collaborative government study on local governments. We also encourage administrators to think about how to establish the collaborative networks and why. Different countries may choose different regional coordinated governments mechanism while facing different governance issues. Future study should respond to the development of practice and verify the rich hypotheses in the simple studies. Okay, this is the end of my sharing. Please everyone criticize and correct. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Shupang Shan, for sharing your wonderful presentation with all of us. Would you like to add anything over there with your presentation?
Thank you all. I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody has any questions about the presentation, you can put it in the chat box. The speaker will try to answer it over there. Moving forward with the conference. Okay, our next presenter for the day is Lydia Njeri Kamau, Faculty of Education Management, University of Chuka, Kenya. Her topic of presentation is Difference in Teacher Supervision by Principal Before and After Principal, Delocalization in Public Secondary Schools in Countries in Eastern Region, Kenya. You may also read her abstract. As Ma'am Lydia is going to present live, so I would request her to please share her screen.
Right. Hello, everybody. I'm hoping you can be able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So my name is Lydia Njeri Kamau. I am a student pursuing a doctorate in philosophy of education management from a university called Chuka University in Kenya. Kenya is in East Africa. One of the countries in East Africa. By profession, I teach secondary school students within the ages of about 14 to 19 years. Now, my presentation paper of presentation today is a difference in teacher supervision by principals before and after principals delocalization in public secondary schools in selected counties in Eastern Region, Kenya. A bit of sorry about that. The more efficient and effective work performed by the school system, the better the results achieved. Blackmore, Sanchez, Moreno, and Sowers, 2015, states that principals are expected to manage effectively many expectations arising from the internal and external community and be efficient and prudent in executing their duties. Principals take charge of a school, identify areas that requires improvement, and make plans on how to effect the necessary changes, in addition to augmenting students with the skills for the 21st century. That is according to Walker and Artist 2015. Now, in Kenya, in our country, Kenya, the principals are employed by a union or a teacher service a commission called TSC, and part of the work is to oversee the secondary schools management on behalf of the Ministry of Education. So the TSC in the year 2018 initiated the policy of the localization of heads of educational institutions in Kenya. Now, TSC is mandated to oversee the management of teachers in terms of even the transfers, the promotions, and part of the a human resource tool. They implemented a policy we refer to as a delocalization of school heads. Now, the delocalization of school heads or principals of heading institutions across the country simply implied that the principals would not be allowed to work in counties that are considered to be part of their birth counties. So delocalization policy was basically meant to ensure that principals work away from their home counties. Delocalization policy led to massive transfers of institutional heads across the whole country, Kenya, with a total of 3,725 principals and schools being affected as at December 2020. Now, a bit of a state of the problem. Now, this policy of delocalization was intended to promote professionalism in school management, to reduce corruption in schools, eliminate incidents of students indiscipline, promote social cohesion, and create a national outlook in the management of learning institutions in the country. However, after implementation of the localization policy, very little research has been done to evaluate whether the objectives of principles delocalizations are being achieved. And part of the reason why this study is necessary is for that simple reason, that it is important for us to evaluate whether one of the objectives of promoting professionalism in school management is being achieved in the country. Now, again, the cases of schools unrest are still being reported across the country. We also have cases of the principals who are delocalized being rejected by the school's board of management. Then we also have issues of challenges of individual job satisfaction for the principals, which may negatively affect their performance of duty. Of key importance for this study is the performance of the duty of teacher supervision, which is the paper of presentation today. The objective of the study, it was to investigate whether there is a difference in teacher supervision by principals before and after delocalization in public secondary schools in selected counties in Eastern region. Public secondary schools were selected simply because the Teacher Service Commission normally regulates and monitors performance of teachers who are in public secondary schools, and therefore the private schools would not be ranked properly here since the teachers are not managed by the TSC. Selected counties in Eastern region, Kenya. Now, the hypothesis is stated as a null hypothesis. There is no statistically significant difference between teacher supervision by principals before and after the localization in public secondary schools in selected counties in Eastern region, Kenya. The methodology, the research adopted two designs, the causal comparative and descriptive survey. Causal comparative design allowed this particular research to compare the conduct of teacher supervision performance before the delocalization policy was implemented and after the localization policy was implemented on matters concerning the role of the principal in teacher supervision. Descriptive survey allow the researcher to be able to evaluate what is the real actual findings on the ground without manipulation. Now, the study location was in a few counties, selected counties in Eastern region. In Eastern region, Kenya, these counties included Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Embu, Kitui, Makueni, and Machakos. The target population was 4,662, comprising of 4,055 secondary school teachers employed by the Teacher Service Commission, one Teacher Service Commission, a regional quality assurance and standard officer, and 6 county quality assurance and standards officers. The sampling technique, this research used a multi-stage sampling, which involved stratified sampling, proportionate sampling, and simple random. Stratified sampling was important because we have different categories of schools in our country. We have schools that are considered national schools, extra counties, county schools, and day schools. So that classification was important, the stratification was important to ensure that all the different stratas of the categories of schools are represented. Then simple random, proportionate sampling was used to ensure that depending on the number of schools that are in each category, the teachers who are sampled also represent the sizes or the numbers of the schools they teach in. Simple random was also used to select the teachers who will participate in the study from each of the schools once a school has been sampled. Now, the sample size was 162, consisting of 158 public secondary school teachers selected by stratified and simple random. One regional quality and the standards officer was selected purposively. And then we had 3 county quality assurance standard officers who are selected by simple random from the 6 that were in the target population. The instruments, the study used questionnaires to gather the data and an interview schedule. The teachers filled the questionnaires, whereas the interview was conducted for the regional quality and standards officer and also the county quality assurance standard officers. The validity, the instruments were piloted and the validity checked. Also, the study also used the experts to check validity of the study instrument. The reliability coefficient CROBA was calculated and it was above 0.07, which meant that the instruments were ready or were considered good for the sake of analysis of data. This analysis was done by the use of SPSS version 26, and the data was then calculated using the mean, the percentage, standard deviation, and particularly chi-square for the test of the study hypothesis. Now, the results and the discussions of the findings. The study findings revealed that there is a significant improvement in teacher supervision after principals delocalization in almost all the items indicating teacher supervision activities. Moreover, there was a slightly larger number of teachers who disagreed, 42.6%, that teachers change quickly with directions from new principals, with a percentage of 40.6% agreeing with that statement. 48.5% of teachers agree that localization has helped curb corruption, while 42.6% disagreed. A large portion of teachers, 72.3%, agree that the localization policy has led to disorientation of the teachers. Majority of the teachers, again, around 65.4%, agree that there is sufficient teacher supervision, while a minority, 22.8%, disagreed. 72.3% agree that localization has reduced principals' attachment to schools, while a minority, 19.8%, disagreed with that statement. The respondents agree that localization has a positive impact on teacher supervision. The findings of this study are consistent with the findings of Karaoke 2018, who noted that school principals and head teachers that have served in one station for a long period of time tend to develop dictatorial tendencies and create a callous attitude that requires to be corrected. Hence, the need to embrace the delocalization policy as a tool to manage these challenges. Now, the chi-square test, the results on principals, teacher supervision duty, the p-values of Pearson chi-square were less than 0.05. Therefore, the null hypothesis that there is no statistically significant difference between teacher supervision by principals before and after the localization in public secondary schools in selected counties in the Eastern region, Kenya, was rejected in favor of the alternative hypothesis. Conclusion, there is a statistically significant difference in teacher supervision by principals before and after delocalization. The recommendations being the TSC, the Teacher Service Commission, should continue to implement a principles delocalization. The second one, the principles delocalization should be embraced and promoted by all education stakeholders because it is in the best interest of the education sector. The Teacher Service Commission, the field officers, should also implement delocalization in a more humane manner. Example, delocalization of principles on promotion basis, which means that once a teacher has been promoted to the role, excuse me, to the role of a headship of being a principal, then they can be delocalized so that the policy is done on promotional basis, which is more acceptable at that level. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening in and being present in this particular presentation. I will be taking questions if there are any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am Lydia Kamau Njeri, for such a wonderful presentation. Also, I would request you if you want to add anything along with your presentation.
No, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, you can put it here. Okay, you can put it in the chat box. The speaker will try to answer it over there. Moving forward with the conference. Our last presenter for the day is Ma'am Mara Matku, Doctoral School of Economics and Business Administration, Alexandru Lon Cuza, University of Iași, Romania. Her topic of presentation is how to tackle informal purchases mediated through digital labor platforms. You may also read her abstract. As Ma'am Mara is going to present live, so I'll request her to please share her screen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you hear me?
So we can hear you.
And you can also see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm. Hardly. Yes, now.
Okay, thank you. Oh, let me, okay. Hold up just a minute because I have a problem. Oh. I'm sorry, just a minute, please. Tell me if you can see it now. Sorry for this. Can you see it now? Is it okay? You can see it? Okay. I thought you couldn't hear me. Okay, now. Hi, everyone. I'm Mara. I'm from Iași, Romania, and today I'm gonna talk about how to tackle informal purchases mediated through digital labor platforms. Just a little bit about me. I'm a PhD student. I study marketing in Iași, but today we'll be focusing on labor economics, so it's not exactly marketing. And I know the title might not be very clear to you right now, but I will explain everything. But before doing so, I would like to commence with a sort of joke, because as you know, they say that no matter what you do, you cannot avoid taxes. But it seems like it's not always like this, and I'll explain again everything in a minute. But before that, I have to describe the terms used in my title, because like I said, it might seem a little bit complicated. So moving to what I've told you in my title. So what are digital labor platforms? Now, as you know, digitalization has led to multiple changes and in many sectors, and also, of course, in labor markets. Now, along with new types of jobs and making exchanges between buyers and sellers easier, there has emerged digital labor platforms. And these platforms mediate, as you can see here, the supply of and demand for paid labor by matching workers or service providers with businesses or individual clients. Uh, but I have to say that they're different than employment websites like LinkedIn and eJobs, because in general they suppose one-time tasks, like the ones you see here, like car rides, food delivery, and so on and so forth. So it's not like a long-term working contract between the worker and the one asking for the service. Now, since you know what digital platform are, you have to know that transactions between buyers and service providers on these digital labor platforms are called platform economy. And platform economy is called in many ways in scientific literature, and you can see here the terms you will find it if you're interested in this field. But to sum up, platform economy has increased in recent years because it brought multiple advantages to both workers and employers. And you can see here some of these advantages, like no costs associated with employers. For workers, the possibility of gaining additional money and more flexible working hours, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now remember I was telling you that there in general there's not no working contract between the worker and the one asking for their service, and this is why platform economy is thought to facilitate informal economy. And now I'm gonna tell you what informal economy is. Informal economy covers transactions that are lawful in all aspects except the fact that they are undeclared or underdeclared to the state to evade taxes or other obligations related to social insurance and labor laws. One thing to mention here is that activities that are illegal anyway in formal economy, like drug dealing, for example, are not part of informal economy, because those are part of criminal economy, which is not regarded in my paper. So a better way for you to spot what exactly informal economy is to pay attention if the seller gives you a receipt when you buy something, because if you get not the receipt, if you don't get the receipt, that might be that transaction might be part of informal economy. And since more than 60% of the global workforce have their main employment in the informal economy, this is not a sector to be neglected, especially because it has many negative implications for both workers and the governments, because governments lose their tax revenues, the compliant businesses face an unfair competition, and of course consumers buying from informal markets have no guaranteed health and safety regulations for the products or services they buy. And this is why our assumption was that these digital platforms facilitate informal economy, and this was also discussed in the scientific literature. But the studies we have consulted mainly focus on the supply side of this field, which means they mainly focus on workers and who provides informal services on these platforms. And what we tried to do to fill the research gap was to also focus on the demand side of this field, because there, as you know, there's no supply with no demand. And we tried to look at who's the consumer of informal services on these digital platforms. We tried to see what proportion of informal services are purchased using platforms. and in what sectors of these purchases are more prevalent. We tried to describe the profile of these consumers buying undeclared services through digital platforms, and also what policy approaches could prevent these purchases. And to do so, we conducted the survey in Romania. We chose Romania because Romania is a country where informal economy is highly prevalent. It's actually the second highest share in European Union. Because this was like a sensitive topic, we've opted for a gradual approach. This meaning we started with more general questions, and then we asked them more sensitive questions. We also tried to look, like I've said, in order to find out the profile of consumer buying undeclared services on these platforms. We tried to find out their demographic characteristics, and we have also introduced these 5 variables, and I will explain them here in a minute. So like I said, in order to tackle to find out what policies would be better to prevent these informal purchases, we tried to we used these variables, and we did so because in general policies approaches to tackle informal purchases are based on the motives consumers have to buy from informal economy. And there are 2 main views concerning these motives. And the first one sees the consumer as a rational economic actor, and these 2 variables, the first 2 are part of this rational economic view. And in general, they say that consumers buy from informal economy when what they get there is better than the perceived or the actual sanction for doing so. In other words, if they can find a better price or a better deal or a product that is not available in the formal market, if the sanction is perceived as being low, they would do so. So they would buy from informal economy. But there's another view which says the consumers engage in informal transactions as social actors, and these 3 were part of this view. These last 3 variables were part of this view. And to explain, consumers engage in informal transactions as social actors are not motivated by rational reason, but rather by social reasons. And in general, they try to for example, they try to informally pay friends, relatives, or neighbors, or people they know they are unemployed and they're trying to help. And like I said, they're not motivated by rational reasons, but by it's rather about their personal values and beliefs, like their tax morale, which means their intrinsic motivation to pay taxes, or by the trust they have in other social actors. And here, by social actors, we mean other consumers, which is called horizontal trust, and in state institutions, which is a vertical trust. To explain, if people would think that other consumers also do informal purchases, they would think that this is more acceptable. Or if they would think that state institutions evade taxes, they would again think that this is more acceptable. And I will move to the results. So as you see, 33% of the respondents had purchased informal services in the past 12 months prior to the survey, and out of these, 36 did so using digital platforms. And here you can see the sectors where informal purchases are more prevalent. So as you can see, most prevalent is on tourism, catering services, and also transport services. And this 36%, I think it's not a proportion to be neglected. And according to previous research, it might be the case that the virtual nature of this transaction make the purchaser feel better hidden from authorities than in the real world. And we have also performed a logistic regression to see who is more likely to make informal purchases. And the results look like this. So as you can see in model 1, those aged 55 and more are less likely to buy undeclared services using these platforms. But at the same time, those better educated are more likely to do so. So probably you can imagine that those better educated are more likely to do these online jobs than the ones that are like less educated, which are engaged in general in jobs involving more intensive work there, let's say so. And now to move on the policies, as you can see here, higher sanctions or risks were not significant. So those with a higher risk of detection and those perceiving a higher level of penalty do not make fewer purchases of services from the informal economy using these platforms. But concerning the social actor approach, as you can see, when consumers perceive that others make informal transactions, so here, as you can see, like the horizontal trust index. So when they think others also do informal purchases, they are more likely to engage in a similar behavior. And finally, as you can see, the effect of both sanctions and risk of detections varies according to this level of this horizontal trust. So to conclude, I think to tackle these informal purchases made through digital platforms, it's better to have a holistic approach, which engages both the rational economic approach and also the social economic approach. So it seems like simply using one of these is not sufficient, as the logistic regression showed. And especially, I have to mention that in general, only using rational economic approach, policies can break the trust between the state and the citizens, and thus this will result in actually a higher non-compliance. And that was it from my part. I think I can stop the screen now.
Yes. Thank you, Ma'am Mara, for sharing your presentation with all of us. Also, if you would like to add anything over there.
Yeah, I hope this presentation makes you more aware of all these sides of undeclared work, of the rights of you can lose if you buy undeclared services, and I hope you'll pay more attention when you go buy things if you're and you're gonna pay attention if you get the receipt or not.
Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, you can ask it over here, or the speaker will try to answer it over there. Or you can always put it in the chat box. Any questions from Ma'am Mara? Okay, then.
It's too late now. Yeah, I've realized I didn't put the full screen, sorry. But I hope that didn't bother you.
It's okay, ma'am. Okay, this brings us to the end of this conference. And thank you everyone for joining us today. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. Okay, I would like to know everybody's views on this conference now. Please, I would start with Ma'am Dr. M.A. Victoria Magayon.
Again, what is the question? Sorry.
Ma'am, views about the conference, today's conference.
I learned a lot, and from the discussion, from the presentation, research really give us an insight from different countries using this platform. Thank you very much to all presenters. Continue to work on research. Research is the key for improvement. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us. Ma'am Mara, please share your views about today's conference.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that actually I bought a ticket to be there in person, but I don't know if you've heard about it. They have canceled my flight, so it's such a pity that I had to present like home and online. But I don't know, maybe if you're, I mean, I know you do like more conferences like this in more cities from Europe and also outside Europe. So maybe at the next one we can also meet in person, because I think I mean, it's not like I didn't like it this way, but it's of course better to meet in person with other researchers and professors and students. So yeah, I hope to meet you again at the next conference.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, we'll meet again soon, maybe in some physical conference. Thank you so much for coming in the conference. Ma'am Janiel, would you like to share your views about today's conference?
All right. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and enjoy other conferences, and use this opportunity to publish your researches, because the academe is a wonderful institution to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Janiel ma'am, for sharing your views with us. Sir Zupang Shan, would you please like to share your views about today's conference?
Hello, everyone. I learned a lot from this meeting. Thank you for everyone's wonderful presentation, and I hope we can talk together next time. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your wonderful views about the conference. Sir Mike Zhao, would you please like to share your views about today's conference? Sir Mike, would you please like to share? Okay, I guess there are some technical glitches and his microphone is not working. So we'll move on to Ma'am Lydia. Would you please like to share your views about today's conference?
Yes, thank you very much. I really want to appreciate the platform for allowing us to share our researchers and also communicate this information out there. And I have also learned a lot. It has actually helped rubber stamp the fact that it is not just important to do research, it's also important to disseminate this information to the end people, the consumers. So I'm very, very grateful for that particular opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Lydia, for sharing your views. Okay, this brings us to the end of this conference. Thank you all of you for joining us for the conference and sharing your wonderful presentations and view. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.